and everything is pretty much representative of a mid-18th century blacksmith shop, or 19th century, sorry, 19th century. I'm dressed like a blacksmith would be in the 18th century, in the 1700s. I portray a blacksmith in about 1750 to 1770, the French and Indian War period through the Revolutionary War period. And I demonstrate at different places, but I'm here. This is Deb Sands. She's the kiln queen over there. She'll be firing the kiln on Sunday. Nap-in is this weekend, this coming weekend. So she'll be firing about 100 plus pieces in the kiln over there. But anyway, this is a blacksmith shop. This is called a forge, and there's coal in there, and that's burning right now. It's sitting there at about 1400 degrees, just idling right now. And but we bring air into the fire to make the fire hotter, because our iron, we like to work our iron at somewhere between 1200 and about 2250 to 2300 degrees. And we have to warm it up, make it soft, and when we warm it up, it will change colors. So believe it or not, it is still in a black stage to up until about 1200 degrees. And once it gets up to about 1200 degrees, it'll start taking on a color. And we watch the colors, and that way we know how hot it is. When it gets up to about 2350, this particular iron, when it gets to about 2350 degrees, it'll actually start sparkling like a 4th of July sparkler. So at that point in time, it's actually, the metal is actually vaporizing. And if you'd had something on the end of that where it's vaporizing and melt off, and then you'd have to cut the end off, and then you'd have to start over whatever you've done. So you've got to watch that you don't have too many irons in the fire. Okay, now we've gotten that one out of the way. Now there's another one. When we bring the iron out, well, you'll see me working pretty quick, so you have to strike while the iron is hot. So anyway, this blower brings in air, making the fire hotter, adding oxygen to the fire. And like I say, this is coal we're burning. We have to actually burn the coal one time prior to the way it comes out of the ground. We have to actually turn it into a product called coke. And the flames that you'll see that's burning here, and the smoke that you'll see back here, is actually the petroleum that is in the coal that is burning out. Just coal by itself that hasn't been turned into coke, like would be in a coal burning stove, only burns about 800-900 degrees. And again, like I told you, we need it from about 1200 to about 2300. So we need to process that coal and get it into the stage of coke. And so once that's done, we do that right here, and it's continually, this coal is continually turning into coke as I'm burning it. But right down there in the center of the fire, that's the coke. That's the stuff that gets real hot. Now we could use charcoal, we could use cut down trees and bring them in and burn, and that'll still become the same temperature. Okay, now we're going to get back to colors, and you watch the color of this when I come out of the fire. Okay, that's about 2200 right there on the end. And I'm hammering on that, and I started hammering on that out on the horn. That helps me draw it out a little quicker. And then I went back to the face of the anvil, and I'll finish this out. And I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm kind of making it look like a screwdriver. Okay, so if we look at this, it's a little bit wider at the top than it is at the bottom. That's our original size. Okay. Okay, everybody see that? But if I turn it 90 degrees, see it's real thin at the top, looks like a screwdriver. Okay, I'm going to put this back in the fire and let it sit there for a minute, and I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this. In front of you, you're going to see some hooks laying around there. There's the process that I'm doing right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to make one of these little Tommy. This is called a stick-in Tommy, or a drive-in hook or mantle hook. Stick in the wood. That looks like a nail. Little twist in the middle. There's a J on the end, and then there's a little I on the end. You've got this driven in next to your bed or somewhere, and you hang an article of clothing on it, and you get in a big hurry, possibility that piece of clothing is going to come right over that smooth area and come right off. If it was just a straight point like this, what do you think would happen? probably rip it, right? Probably rip it. Now, there's a possibility that you could have a spoon or spatula or something like that hanging on it, and it wouldn't make any difference. But that is so that it can be used for a clothing article or something, and it also makes it look nice. We try to make our items look as nice as we can and do it in as quick a time as we can. The same thing with the twist. I'll tell you about the twist in a little bit. Okay, so we've got that hammered down, and it's drawn down thin on the end, and that will allow me to roll that eye over. And if I've got this hot enough, all the way up part of the shaft, I'll be able to do two things in one heat, which looks like we're going to be able to do. I'll roll that eye, I'm going to bring it over to the quench bucket, and I'm going to cool just that little eye, and then I'm going to go around that tool right here and bend and make the J. So here we go. I strictly do the eye just with the hammer. I'm just tapping it around, I pull it back, and I've got the eye made the way I want it. I'm going to cool that because I'm going to actually tap on that eye, and if I wouldn't cool that, it would smash that eye closed, and then I'd have to start all over again. So with that heat there, we got two things done. Okay, we got the J made, and we got the eye on. Okay, these pliers that I'm working with are called tongs, and of course you've had this in the fire, so this is getting warm from the heat from the fire and the iron against this iron, and it's heating up, but it's still pretty cold down here. But anyway, I'm switching tongs to get another pair of tongs that fit the bottom better. I will cool these down so they're cold. The next time I touch them, they're cold. You see our tongs sitting here. I don't have to worry about burning myself. So we're going to put this back in the fire, and we're going to make that point on the other end this time. Now, you can say, okay, we can make this hook and not put that point on it and put a hole in it, and we'll get a screw. Well, that's great. A screw would probably cost you 10 times what that hook cost you. And then, how do you put a screw in or take a screw out? You need a screwdriver, and right underneath your water bottle is a screwdriver. And so that screwdriver is probably going to cost you the same as the screw. So now you have spent the amount of 20 drive-in hooks to have one hook, one screw, and one screwdriver. And another thing is, iron was a very sought after item. The rough iron, the raw material was very prized, so you tried to use as little as you could and make it as utility as you could. So why not just attach the apparatus that holds it to the wall on the end of the hook?
So what year, I mean, I'm assuming these, the iron...
Go ahead.
Here, that came out of some big manufacturing plant. What year would this be available to Frontier Blacksmith?
What year would this
kind of stuff be available to Frontier Blacksmiths?
This iron in these forms would be probably available in the mid-1800s and later. Prior to that, we were only able to get just certain sizes of bar stock, and then we would actually have to heat it, and we'd have to hammer it down into the smaller shapes. Earlier than that, when you get into the mid to early 1700s, we got in iron that was just big chunks like that beeswax chunk is, and it was called bloom iron, and that's the way it was made, and then it was shipped over in the bottom of ships. So then we had to basically refine it in the forge here. So as time went on, there was more shapes and sizes, pre-made sizes available to us. So, okay, we've got that nail point done on the end of that. I'm going to lock it into this vise. Hammer that over. Okay, so we've got that part of it done. That's the nail part, and of course you hammer on it back here. And then we'll heat it back up and put the twist in it. And the twist is just nothing more than my style. Makes it look a little fancy. It doesn't make it weaker or stronger. It actually doesn't make it any shorter by twisting it, for no more than we twist it. Now, I'm only going to twist it 1 revolution, and that's all I need to do, and that will be, you'll be able to see that. It's very visual, very apparent that 1 twist in there gives you a nice appearance. And but if you would probably twist that maybe 10 complete revolutions, it might shorten it up maybe 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 of an inch, maybe the thickness of the material, but it's not going to make much difference. When we're hammering that iron, and I drew that point out, I actually made that piece longer than what it started out. The rolled end the same way. So if you would straighten that piece out, that piece is probably at least 1 inch longer than what it actually started out being. So, and it doesn't need to be that thick in those areas, so you can draw it out, save material. If something would break, and iron is very easily repairable, if something would break, you'd take it back to the blacksmith shop and they would repair it. Now, if you didn't need that particular item anymore, you could take and make it into something else, cut it down, make 2 or 3 different items maybe out of that piece. So we were the early recyclers. And okay, so there's a nice color in there, and when it's like that, it's very soft. And I'll just grab it with the tongs like this, and we'll make 1 complete revolution. I went a little bit beyond 360 degrees because the iron has a little bit of a memory, and so by going a little bit beyond and then backing it off, it will lock into that position and stay there. Of course, when you cool it down, then it will be completely locked. So, if you remember what we started out with, I think we started out with this piece here, and we ended up with that piece there. It's wet, but it's cold. You guys can touch this.
Oh, it's cold already. Awesome.
And that's what we did.
That's what it is now. And you just start with a piece like this?
Yeah, did this